Let's bring in Republican Senator Sen Collins from Maine. Senator Collins, thanks for joining us this morning. You just heard Secretary Blinken right there. You were one of the 42 Republican senators to sign that letter about the Iran nuclear negotiations, saying the sanctions should remain in place. What's your response to Secretary Blinken?
First of all, let me commend Secretary Blinken and President Biden for working very hard to help bring about a ceasefire in the Middle East and for recognizing that Israel does have the right to defend itself against a terrorist group, Hamas, that is funded by the Iranians. And that's the key reason why I don't want us to proceed with lifting sanctions on Iran as long as Iran remains the foremost supporter of terrorism in the world.
Let's talk about the prospect for bipartisan cooperation on infrastructure. I know you've been in meetings with President Biden. In a bid to jumpstart the negotiations, the administration lowered their proposal to $1.7 trillion this week and said the ball is now in the GOP's court to come up with a counterproposal. Will you and your colleagues do that?
I think negotiations should continue, but it's important to note that there's a fundamental difference here, and at the heart of the negotiations is defining the scope of the bill. What is infrastructure? We Republicans tend to define infrastructure in terms of roads, bridges, seaports, and airports, and broadband. The Democratic definition seems to include social programs that have never been considered part of core infrastructure. I was glad that the president put a counteroffer on the table, but if you look closely at it, what he's proposing to do is move a lot of the spending to a bill that's already on the Senate floor, the Endless Frontiers bill. And so I think we're still pretty far apart, but this is the test. This will determine whether or not we can work together in a bipartisan way on an important issue. And the other important area where we're far apart is still the money. We have to realize that if you look at what the president had proposed this year, the $1.9 trillion package for COVID, which went way beyond COVID in March, and now this very broadly described infrastructure package, we're talking about an enormous sum of money. Remember, we spent $4.1 trillion in inflation-adjusted dollars to win World War II. That's the size of the president's infrastructure and social services package.
Democrats and Republicans in the Senate also seem to be far apart on this bill to have a bipartisan commission look into the January 6th siege of the Capitol. 35 Republican House members voted for it, but it appears that it's hitting a roadblock in the Senate right now. You called that attack appalling and un-American, provoked by President Trump. But now you're saying you're going to support the commission only under certain conditions, including that it wrap up this year, which appears pretty unrealistic. Why are you opposed to having the commission, to voting for the commission as passed by the House?
Well, first of all, let me clarify my position. I strongly support the creation of an independent commission. I believe there are many unanswered questions about the attacks on the Capitol on January 6th. We need to figure out how we can enhance security, why we weren't better prepared, and we want the Capitol to be an open, accessible symbol of our democracy. So I support the creation of a nonpartisan, bipartisan commission. The two issues I think are resolvable. One has to do with staffing, and I think that both sides should either jointly appoint the staff or there should be equal numbers of staff appointed by the chairman and the vice chairman. The second issue is I see no reason why the report cannot be completed by the end of this year. The commissioners have to be appointed within 10 days. There's plenty of time to complete the work. And I'm optimistic optimistic that we can get past these issues based on recent conversations I've had with the Speaker of the House and the House Majority Leader.
Finally, Senator Collins, Axios reported this week that the FBI is investigating a scheme to illegally finance your 2020 re-election bid. It involves $150,000 in contributions from a defense contractor. Were you aware of those contributions, and what's your reaction to the investigation?
Absolutely not. I was not aware at all. But it's also important to recognize this is not an investigation of me. It's not an investigation of Collins for Senator campaign. It's an investigation of a single donor among the 100,000 donors that I have. And if he has done something wrong, as the warrant alleges, then he should be pursued by the FBI. I would also clarify that some of that money went to an outside super PAC, not to my campaign. But my campaign website actually has information on it instructing people that they can only make donations with their own money. They cannot funnel it through someone else. They cannot be straw donors, and they have to check that box in order to contribute. So I had no knowledge, and it is not an investigation of my campaign or of me, just of one of my many donors.
Senator Collins, thanks for that clarification. Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.